Awesome. So we are here and oh man, we've got lots and lots of questions. But first, let me say hello and welcome, Julie King. How are you?
Hi, thanks. I'm so happy to be here with you. I just think this is technology, this is one of the benefits of technology is that we can do this.
I know. And the fact that we're across the world from each other too. I know we just spoke about it's your dinner time, so I'm not going to keep you, even though I could probably chew your ear off for a long time. So thank you, because it's your evening now. So we are going to jump into lots of questions and things with Julie. I want to let you guys know, if you don't already know about this beautiful lady in front of me, if you don't know her work, then I'm going to share a little bit about her and her work. First, this is the one I have. Do you want to hold up your other one, the yellow one?
Yes. See if I can get it in focus here.
So yours is How to Talk So Little Kids Will Listen, and mine is How to Talk When Kids Won't Listen. Do you have a favorite out of the two?
I have a favorite. No, I can't say I have a favorite. I can say that I hope that people read this one when their kids are little, and then when they want more, they go to the next one. We wrote this one first, so it's my first child. But there was a lot that we couldn't put in here. It's a long, I know some people say it's very long. It's not meant to be read from cover to cover. The part one introduces the main, what we call tools of the approach. And then part two has the tools in action. So we show people how to use the tools when you're trying to get out the door in the morning or you're trying to get them to go to bed at night and everything in between. But you don't have to read the chapters in order. You can skip to, there's a chapter on food. So if you're having food issues, you could just jump to that one. If you're having trouble, if you need to take your kids shopping and you need some strategies, we have a chapter on that. So it's not meant to be read necessarily in order. And we had more than the publisher was letting us put in this book because there's so many different issues that come up with parenting, right? And so we have more of those in the second book. So it's called How to Talk When Kids Won't Listen. It's really like what else you might be wondering about when if you read the first book, or if you have older kids, because this one that you're holding up is for a wider age range. It really is preschool all the way through early teens.
I found a little bookmark. I think that would be my youngest, and I must have gone, oh, that's a good page. Oh, and I love, is it similar in the other one? The beautiful little sort of scripts and comic, like these are gold. Yep. Gold.
We wanted to put, it's the closest you can get in a book to a video, so people can actually see it in action. And we have the same reminder pages in both books. You can jump to a chapter end of each chapter, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but there's a little gray stripe with a summary of what was in that chapter. So we know parents don't have a lot of time to read. That's the challenge of writing books for parents, is that you have to find the time. So we've made it as reader friendly as possible with highlights and reminder pages that summarize and cartoons that illustrate the tools in action. Yeah, that's in both books.
Oh, wonderful. So if you don't already have a copy of either of the book, I highly recommend that you go, I don't know, Amazon, maybe that's the quickest place.
Or wherever they sell books, they sell our books.
Yes, they do. They're everywhere. So let me tell you all a little bit about Julie just before we get started. She is the co-author of these books with Joanna Faber. They're best-selling books, so we know that, and we all love them. They're incredible. And they have collaborated on the companion app How to Talk, Parenting Tips in Your Pocket, and the app Parenting Hero. And Julie leads workshops online, consults with parents and kids aged 2 to teens by phone, by video, and speaks publicly to schools, businesses, and parent groups all across the US and internationally. Hope one day you can come over here to Australia. Have you been already?
I've never been to Australia, no.
Oh, one day.
Yeah.
So you guys can visit her website at julieking.org. You can find her on Facebook, Instagram. We're going to put all those links, down in the description when we jump off. So
and let me just add that the books have also been translated into a ton of languages. So if English is not your first language, or somebody for whom English is not your first language, they're available. I mean, there's like I don't know, 30, 40 languages that they've been translated into. So,
Wow. So wherever you are, whatever language you speak, hopefully then, I mean, that's so valuable. I think that's incredible.
Yeah.
So we are talking about, obviously, those daily challenges that we have as parents, caring for young children. We kind of touched on them already. Things like morning mayhem, bedtime battles, sibling scuffles, dawdling, defiance. So if we, often we feel like we want to avoid using those threats, those bribes, those punishments, but sometimes we find ourselves using them anyway, just to sort of survive the day. So we're going to be talking about, what can we do instead of those methods? What is going to be most beneficial, most respectful, most, in terms of our connection with our kids. And obviously, sometimes we do need to get our kids to cooperate in certain moments, right? So we don't want to force them or manipulate them, but there are moments where we do have to brush our teeth, or we do have to get in the car and things like that. So are they kind of often the questions or the challenges that you hear from parents?
That's exactly right. You've got it.
So I put the call out, my team and I put the call out for questions, and oh my goodness, we had an incredible amount come back through. So I want to say I'm so grateful to everyone. If you're watching live now in Let's Raise Emotionally Intelligent Kids, then thank you and hello and welcome. And you may be watching this a little bit later on YouTube, but we've got lots of questions. So I'm going to, we're seeing some hellos and things on online on Facebook, which is awesome. I'm going to see if I can pull up some of the questions from the get-go, because here we go. And it is some of them, Julie and I were talking just before we jumped on, it is easier to sort of give some advice or some tips or some suggestions when we have more information about the situation and what's been happening and things like that. So I'll see if I can pick some that have, some kind of meat for us to understand. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So I have a question from, I think it's Ariane. She, and I asked her for a little bit more info on this. She said, how do I talk when my kids, how do I talk to my kids when they keep fighting? And then after asking for a little bit more info, she said, my kids are 6 and 4, and they fight physically and verbally. My little boy likes to run around and chase my daughter saying poop head. And some days my little girl will say, you're stupid. My daughter's the type that needs more time in silence and gets very overwhelmed with too much noise. My little boy can be the same way, but he's little and enjoys teasing her when she wants to be left alone. My oldest is from a different dad. When they get home from their dads, it's pretty much a battle zone for the first few days. I've implemented breath work and talking about both perspectives with them, but I'd like a bit more knowledge on how I can help them in those appropriate ways.
Okay. So before I say anything, I want to mention that fighting is a big topic. A couple of years ago, I created a new workshop that is 8 hours long just on this topic. So let's put, I want to have realistic expectations in terms of how we talk about it in this moment, because it's a big topic. And I think our goal here is to help a lot of parents with fighting, and I'll try to make some general comments, but I just want to put in perspective, it's a big topic. I could spend the entire half an hour just on this topic. I always say there's how to talk to your kids, and then how to help your kids talk to each other and work out their conflicts. And so this is we're starting with the most complicated problems. Okay. Just to put it in perspective. So let's think about what our goals are for our 2 kids who are 6 and 4, right? We don't just want them to get along. We want them to learn how to resolve conflict. And because when they're grown, we want them to have those skills, not just with each other, but with all people. And the conflicts they have with each other are one of the more important places where they're going to learn how to resolve conflict, right? And in order to, so first of all, that, I want to think about what our goals are. It's not just to get them to stop fighting. It's to help them learn what to do when there's conflict, all right? So that's a bigger goal. I mean, it's very tempting to say, all right, you guys, just stop. Go to your separate rooms. Stop talking to each other. I'm just going to separate you. And sometimes that is the thing to do, because sometimes they're overtired. They're too wound up. They're so mad that they can't even think straight. And everybody needs to settle before we can even address the conflict, right?
Can I just say thank you for making that point, because there is, like, we don't need to feel like we need to every situation handle it. Sometimes I do it and I think, okay, we're at the end of our day, like, let's just have we all need a breather.
Right. Not every conflict can be resolved in the moment that it happens. I think that's a good lesson for us in our adult relationships, as well as helping our kids get along, for sure. I'm thinking about, my relationship with my husband. There are times when I think I need some time to think about it, to calm down, think a little bit straight, because the first thing that wants to come out of my head is not always the most helpful, right? And the same with our kids. Okay, so there's that. It sounds as though the fighting that she's talking about happens for different reasons, right? Sometimes it's because she said something like the 6-year-old, it sounded like the 6-year-old wants to play with the 4-year-old. The 4-year-old needs some quiet downtime, right? So there's that conflict. Let's just talk about that one, since, there's so many, but we'll start with that one. What do we really want to have happen? We want the 4-year-old to know herself well enough to think, I don't want to play with him right now. I feel I need some quiet, or I'm in the middle of something, right? Rather than telling him, leave your sister alone. She's in the middle of playing. She didn't want, stop poking her. We can ask her to say, it looks like you're not in the mood to play right now. You can tell your brother, right? So a 4-year-old might need some coaching. And what do you actually say? You can say, I don't want to play right now. I'm busy, right? I'm doing coloring. I'm in the middle of something. I mean, we do that as adults too, but she may need some coaching as to what to say. And the 6-year-old might need some coaching also. He might need some help because he wants to play. He doesn't want to hear that she doesn't want to play. He's like, I need some action. Sounds like he's like physical and he's getting into it. So it might be helpful for him to say to himself, I'm in the mood to play. And I'm disappointed, right, that she doesn't want to play with me. And what else can I do? So we can coach him and say, oh, you really want to play with her. And she's saying she's not in the mood right now. What could you do while you're waiting? So we might be coaching him, to think about, what do you need right now? You need some action. You need something to do. She's not available. What else could you do? And again, it's tempting to say, honey, just go outside and jump on the trampoline, or, go get the basketball, or kick the soccer ball around, right? It's tempting to tell them. But our goal is for our kids to be able to say to themselves, this is what's going on for me. This is what I need. How can I meet those needs? What can I do? Right?
Wow.
So that might be what's happening in that situation.
Mm-hmm. And I love that you touched on, like, just the beginnings of helping to coach the kids, because they don't have the sophisticated brain development to resolve conflict, and they're just bundles of emotion, and but I want it, but he took it, but it's not fair. We coming back down into this, okay, let's sort this out, this calm, I got this, we'll work it out together energy. I think that's much better and more productive than, as you said, sometimes we come in raging and we're like, right, you give it back, apologize now, everyone in your rooms.
Right. That's right. Yes. There's so much we could say about all that. Like that, apologize to her, say you're sorry. She, you kicked her, you pushed her. She didn't like that. There's a lot of problems with forcing a child to say you're sorry. Mm-hmm. In fact, I think we have a whole chapter and I have to admit, one of our books, I forget which one, about why you shouldn't force a child to say you're sorry. We want them to learn how to apologize. Yes. But a forced apology, first of all, think about if somebody comes to you and says, Stephanie, my mom said I had to say I'm sorry. So I'm sorry. Like, how does that feel to you? So often a kid will say, he didn't mean it. He didn't say it like he meant it. Like, of course he didn't. She was forcing him. He doesn't feel sorry. Right? Sometimes it's more helpful to help a kid get to the point where they actually feel sorry. Right? Let's say he pushed her. Why did he push her? Because she grabbed his thing yesterday, or, she called him a name, or, like there's a reason, right? So if we don't help him by saying, ugh, you didn't want her to grab that out of your hands. She wouldn't give it back. You got frustrated. That's why you pushed her. Yeah. I told her it's mine. Yeah, I'm not finished with it. You can't have a turn. And she wouldn't give it to me. So I had to push her, That's not a child who's feeling sorry in the moment. That's a child who feels like she deserved it. Right. Now, I don't ever endorse using physical, shoving, kicking, pushing as a way to solve those kinds of problems, but I can relate to the frustration, right? And I need to do that. Ugh, that's so frustrating when somebody grabs it out of your hands and they don't give it back. No wonder you felt like pushing her. Well, I can't say it's okay to push somebody. What could you do in a situation like that? What could you do next time? I might do that. It all very much depends on, is she there? Is she not there? Can I pull him apart? Is he settled enough that we can even have that conversation? But you heard her say you're sorry really does not help. And I know that a lot of us feel like, oh, I thought I was supposed to do that because our parents did that to us, right? They made us say you're sorry, and we all remember all right, I'm sorry. And what it felt like is I'm admitting I did something bad. I'm a bad person. And that's not what we want them to feel either. Not that we want them to feel like they're bad people. We want them to think, I did something that when I reflect on it wasn't the best strategy for what I wanted. Maybe it really wasn't the right thing to do. And I kind of wish I had figured something else out. Next time, I'm not going to shove her. Next time, I'm going to say, hey, that's not fair. I'm going to call my mom or my dad. If I can't figure it out myself, we're going to give them lots of strategies.
And something you mentioned, I want to touch back on is we've got to help bring them to the place where they are calm and regulated enough, essentially for that brain to switch on, the frontal lobe where they can access empathy and problem solving and their language and the logic and all of that stuff. I think, I don't think it's permissive, soft parenting or letting the kids win if you wait until your child is calmer. And as you said, you validated that they were really hurt or really upset or that was so mean and that no wonder, I can see why then their brain is kind of then switching on to sometimes be a little bit more, well, yeah, I know I shouldn't. Well, but she took, and I feel like our kids are more receptive then rather than in the heat of the moment when they're still just full of anger and frustration. And do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes. And sometimes parents say to me, he needs to learn empathy. He needs to understand that doesn't feel good to her, that he hurt her. He has to have empathy. And I think a child, a 6-year-old who doesn't have empathy in that moment, how do we help him the most? This is going to sound like, whoa, are you kidding? We're going to show him empathy. That's how we do it. Oh, she grabbed it out of your hand. Oh, you told her you wanted it back and she wouldn't give it to you. That's so frustrating. Makes you mad when something like that happens. It even makes you feel like shoving or hitting, right? I'm not saying it's okay. I'm not saying go for it, honey, but I can understand the feeling of like, I can't believe she did that to me. We're actually showing him empathy at a moment when he needs it. And so that does a number of things. It helps him de-escalate. It helps him come down. It helps him feel like I'm an okay person. And it also gives him the experience. It teaches him what is the language of empathy? I just did it. I just modeled it, right?
Wow, powerful. I love the way you script things too. It makes so much sense. We hear our kids saying that and the emotion behind it too. So, okay, let me ask you another question. This is from Lucia. She said, how do you deal with separation anxiety in a 4-year-old? And I asked her a little bit about when it might happen and particular situations and things like that. And I'll read a little bit out of what she responded. So separation anxiety, 4-year-old. It happens when she's without me, but sometimes when she's without my husband, for example, if he goes to the shop. The problem is mainly that she wants to be with me all the time, everywhere. We tried to bring her to a summer camp a couple of days ago in the same group as her sister, but she started panicking at the idea of me leaving the room. I asked if I could stay in a corner reading, and I wasn't allowed or offered any alternative idea to make the separation softer and more gradual. I was told to leave her, and if she cries, they'll ring me to collect her. I wouldn't do that because I knew she would be crying straight away, as it happened every other time. I wasn't going to leave her there if she wasn't ready. I prefer to negotiate with her with what she feels comfortable and how to make the next step so she can manage. In that situation, everything was new. The place, the teacher, the children, the activities. Only her sister and her friend were there, but it wasn't enough. On the other hand, she's happy going anywhere with me and trying new activities or meeting new people, as long as it's with me or my husband. She's improved a lot since January. Back then, she panicked if she was at home with me and I went to the toilet.
Oh,
She tried a month ago to attend school for 3 hours a day as a trial and got on really well and forgot about me. And she'll start school in September in the same classroom as her sister, 3.5 years older than her. There'll be 5 children in the classroom. So she's been trying to support her by reading books to her about separation anxiety with an empowering perspective and talking about the subject. She's learned that she said, from ideas that I read in books, I've learned that I must follow what I agree with her. For example, if I say to go to the shop quickly and she stays with her dad, I must do that and not take a long time. Also avoid forcing the separation if it makes her very distressed. And I hug her and give her emotional support if she's crying or having a hard time. Are there any other ideas or advice?
okay. So separation, that's a tough one for a lot of kids. It sounds like she's made progress, so that's a good sign. I don't know what her mother has actually said to her and to prepare her for the camp. But one thing that I have had a lot of success with, a lot of parents who I've worked with, is preparing them before, like, let's take the camp example, talking about what's going to happen, but also making a book. And the book is about what it's like to go to camp, right? So she didn't give us her name, but let's call her Susie. So the book says, Susie is starting a new camp. Susie feels a little nervous because she doesn't know who's going to be there, and she doesn't know the teacher, and she doesn't know what she's going to do. And then we turn the page, and so Susie goes to camp, and here's what it looks like. And I would actually go and, if you can, take pictures, or if there's pictures on the internet, if there's pictures of the classroom. Susie's interested because there's a art corner, and there's activities, and there's a circle time, and I don't know what they do at this camp, but I would really make it visual for her so she can imagine she's there. And if possible, take her to see it and have her meet the I don't know if they're teachers or camp counselors, whatever the people in charge are, so that it feels a little bit more familiar. Because part of what's happening is it's not familiar to her. And what happens when something unfamiliar is happening is she feels like, uh-oh, I don't know if I'm safe. I don't know if this is okay. So we want to help her get that feeling of, oh, this is familiar. I know it's going to happen. And I worked with a mom of I think she was 3, and she was starting a new school, and she had a lot of separation issues, and they made a book like this, and they put pictures, and they talk, you can talk about the week before, you can say, I wonder what your camp counselor is doing right now. Or maybe, do you think your camp counselor would like to see what you made if she's done something? Well, you could tell her that how well you ride your bicycle, or, whatever's happening, you can sort of bring that into her world so that it's not so separate.
I like that. I think bringing them together so that it's a little bit, you're building that familiarity as well, right? And
yeah.
If you can go to the camp, how great would that be to go and do a drive-by, or just stand out there, take some photos or a video of, oh, this is where I'll be. Bringing in some of that familiarity and that fun as well. So they're really great ideas. Thank you.
I don't know if this mom is acknowledging that sometimes you can feel nervous about going someplace new, and that's normal, right? And so let's talk about what can help, but don't be afraid to name it. I think sometimes when kids are nervous about it, our instinct as parents is to say, oh, honey, it's going to be really great. It's going to be really fun. Your sister's going to be there. You're going to be playing all these wonderful games, like trying to talk them into liking the idea rather than saying, it can make you nervous about going. And even though you might be excited that we're going to go swimming or, rock climbing or whatever they're doing. It could also make you nervous because you're not sure who's going to be there. You're not sure what it's going to feel like. And that's normal. That happens when you go someplace new. You might even say, remember when you started school and you were nervous about that? And then you got to know the teachers and you learned what happens. And they had some really cool art activities. Remember that thing you did with the paint and I'm making this up now, but all of that. We want to give her the idea that, yes, we all get nervous when we go someplace new. I mean, that's another strategy, is to share your own experience if you have one. Remember going someplace new and being a little bit nervous? I mean, people who go to college feel that way. It's not just preschoolers or camp. It's a thing that happens to human beings. Mm-hmm. And so if we can say that's normal that you feel a little bit nervous. Like, where do you feel it? Do you feel it in your stomach? That's where I sometimes feel a little nervous. And sometimes when I'm excited and I'm nervous, it's like a very similar experience. It feels very similar, right?
I love just that you're normalizing for them those emotions, because too often we think, oh, it'll be fun. We reassure, you'll have fun, but what we're doing is not addressing or not allowing those emotions to come up, and for us to talk about them and to acknowledge that they're there, and to say, yeah, I felt like that too. And you did, like you said, when you started school. I think the part of being, an emotionally intelligent parent is not being afraid of emotions, and to honor and accept and value them. Yes, we can feel a bit nervous. Oh, am I going to? Sometimes I think parents feel like they're going to open a can of worms if they say, yeah, you're nervous. But we want our kids want to feel seen and heard, and like they matter, and like we get what they're saying. And I think that can be a big help, just doing that. Oh, Julie, she's frozen. I'm gonna look for some more questions whilst Julie comes back online. I can see she's frozen a little bit. But are you guys, please let me know if in Facebook, are you finding value in this? We've shared a couple of questions and answered some. Oh, maybe it's my internet. Oh no, hold on. Let me see. Are we coming back? Oh, no. I think I'm frozen. Can you guys hear? Hello? Oh, am I back? I think I froze for a minute.
And in this case,
Oh, I'm so sorry. I dropped out.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was me or you.
Oh.
I wasn't sure what to do.
I'm so sorry, everyone. That was my internet. I feel like I dropped out, and I was talking. I can't remember what I was talking about. And then I thought, oh, we're both frozen. So that was me. I apologize. Anyway, so we're back on, and I can see we're back on live. So thank you guys for being patient with the internet. But I have another. We might have time for just one more quick question.
Sure.
And so let me bring up. Oh, I wonder if it's. I just need to read. Here we go. Okay. So this has a little bit of information. It's about it's a 9-year-old boy, an only child, so a little bit older, but he's having negative emotions. She wrote all the time about everything, negative, argumentative, just no fun to be around at all. Doesn't want to talk about feelings or try anything different, just withdraws to his screen. And we try to talk about it when he's calmer, but he won't discuss it and tends to get big feelings again. So Linda's finding that really challenging, I suppose, with dealing with some of those big, sort of stressful or unpleasant emotions, and trying to get her 9-year-old to connect with her.
Well, this is a tough one because there's not really enough information to know what's happening. She was saying that everything is negative.
Everything is negative, and he's argumentative and just no fun to be around at all, and doesn't want to talk about feelings or try anything different.
Well, so I don't know what she's saying, but I know that sometimes when that happens, what we want to do is cheer our child up honey, like you can't always look at the, the dark side of things. It's not so terrible. Maybe that happened, but also think about this, like we try to talk them into feeling better. And, one of the things that I like to do in my workshops and we do in our books is to imagine what it feels like to be spoken in certain styles that we try with our kids. So I don't really know what she's doing. So I apologize to Linda if this is not on point for her, but for people who are watching, when a child is just being no, negative and everything's bad and, I hate everything and nothing feels good, our tendency is to want to say, honey, I mean, you look fine. That feels wonderful. Your friend's being totally, that's not so, you're being unreasonable. All of that sort of talk them out of it. But if you think about, if you were feeling really terrible about something, and I always think of this example, if your grandmother died, and it's because when my grandmother died, it's quite a few years ago, but when she died, it happened late in the day, and we happened to have a bunch of people coming over to our apartment. I wasn't leaving to I was in California. She died in New York. I was going to go to New York the next day. A bunch of people came over. And when they heard my grandmother died, they're like, oh, well, how old was she? Oh, well, she had a full life. Like they're trying to sort of cheer me up. I had just learned that I was close to her. When somebody says, oh, well, at least she had a good life, and trying to cheer you up when you feel down, it's just the most lonely, awful feeling, because I don't want to hear how she was, I was lucky to have her. Yeah, I was lucky to have her. But right now, I just found out that she died. It was so, okay, that's pretty morbid, horrible example in a certain way. But
it makes sense. It makes sense, right? Because when we are feeling upset or disappointed or really mad, and we're sort of feeling these, I don't know, emotions, if someone comes in up here, it's fine. And, oh my God, you think of this and you should be grateful that your brother, like there's this complete mismatch, and we don't feel like they are listening or like they get it or like you hear me. So I get the example, but it makes so much sense.
And in fact, what we if somebody does that to us, what we want to say is, no, it's not okay. No, it's not. If somebody says, oh, you should take it in stride. No, I shouldn't take it in stride. This is worth being upset about, right? When somebody tries to talk you out of your quote unquote negative feelings, we tend to escalate. We tend to feel them more, to argue more. Like, no, I actually think that this is it. I thought the party was bad. Oh, what, honey? You had such a good time. I saw you playing with your friends. No, I wasn't. No, I wasn't. They were chasing me and I didn't want to play that game, right? I'm just going to say, and no, the cake wasn't good because it had nuts in it. And besides which, I didn't get to finish it and they took it away before I was done. And, like they're just going to tell you all the reasons why you're wrong. Mm-hmm. And it was bad. And in fact, it was worse than I even said, right?
Oh gosh. So we just have to, I keep putting I can't help it, my emotional intelligence lens on. If we connect with and hear or validate those emotions, then it's like a hydraulics. It's like, then our child can come back down because they feel heard and seen, and like we're hearing, what they're saying is important. And if we're not doing that, it's gonna be ramped up because no, you don't get it. You know what I mean? So that makes a lot of sense. I'm conscious of time, but as we wrap up and talk about the workshops and events that you have coming up, I actually know that you've offered a beautiful free gift to the people who are watching along in the group and on YouTube. And it's I want to quickly find it because there's a question that goes along with this. Let me find it. How to talk when your parenting partner won't listen. And I remember I had a look at this and read it and I was like, and so the question that goes with that is, oh goodness, can I see if I can find it now? It was essentially about, how do you teach a partner to use gentle or parenting or guiding versus default patterns of behavior that they were taught as a child? And not that there was, obviously not too much information, but there was a bunch of likes and I want to know this too.
Yeah, well, give them the link so they can go see the article, because we wrote the article just on that point, because a lot of people were asking us that too. And what we're going to do, you're going to see in the article is, it's really a question that we received from a parent, and with this very question, it was our answer to her. And what we show is, how do you take these very same principles and use them with your partner? Because your partner doesn't want to hear, you're doing it all wrong, you're not supposed to say that, you're making things worse, like all that kind of messaging. Nobody wants to hear that, right? So you're going to use the same principles, read the article, and then you'll get some ideas. And if there's more questions, we'll have to follow up. But
well, if there are more questions, then people need to attend one of your online workshops, the online live interactive workshops. You've got a How to Talk So Little Kids Will Listen. And yes. Also, I think Wednesdays, you've got 2 different, a 4-week live online one led by you, and then something on Wednesdays as well. So do you want to, or maybe that's,
I have How to Talk So Little Kids Will Listen is a workshop. It's a 4-week workshop. We meet for 2 hours a week for 4 weeks. I have 2 different start times coming up in September. They're live interactive small groups. You work with me and a small group of parents. We do interactive exercises. We do practice exercises. We come back, people tell their stories, they ask questions. It's very much, it's not just watching a video is what I want to say. Mm-hmm. And I also have a workshop based on the new book, How to Talk When Kids Won't Listen, which is for older kids. So the little kids book, that one. The little kids workshop is for parents of kids ages 2 to 7. If you have kids going up into the early teens, I have How to Talk When Kids Won't Listen. And I don't have that on my calendar yet, but that will be coming in the fall. Mm-hmm. So, and then I do have the kids fighting workshop that's also coming up. And that one is highly interactive, where we do a lot of role playing, because as I said earlier, I think that handling fighting is one of the hardest challenges for parents. Mm. Even if you get the concepts, there's so much happening so quickly. So I designed a workshop where you actually get to practice what do you say and do when kids are fighting in real time, sort of we practice, and we do a lot of role plays with actual conflicts from people's homes. And people get a lot of insight into why kids fight, because we really didn't get into much of that today. We got to a little bit, but there's so many different factors that feed into why kids fight, and what you can do both in the moment and, importantly, outside the moment to reduce the conflict and to help them learn how to handle the conflict themselves, because that's ultimately our goal.
Yes.
So all of those workshops are listed on my website. And as I add more, if you get on my mailing list, I send out a mailing list with the upcoming workshops, and then you don't have to keep checking the website. So those will be coming up in the fall also.
Yes. Yeah, definitely get on Julie's mailing list. I'm already on there. It's incredible. And julieking.org is where you can find out information about her workshops and things like that. And there's an early bird discount. It ends in September. So you have a little bit of time, but I would just, don't forget about this. Jump on and attend.
The one that is at this very hour, wherever you are in the world right now, we meet at this hour, for 2 hours. That one's starting to fill up, but there's still plenty of space. But that one will go faster. So if you are interested in that one, I suggest, no pressure. I hate to pressure people, for their parents, you've got juggling a lot. But if you're thinking you might want to, give yourself a little reminder, because that one might sell out.
Yes, wonderful. Okay, and also we will put down all your links, and then the free the resource that you've got, which is How to Talk When Your Parenting Partner Won't Listen. So that's gold. So thank you so much, Julie. I've just so enjoyed our discussion, and your the way you answer questions with such kindness and compassion, and the scripts and the everything. It's really, really powerful. Is there any last little thing you want to leave with parents, or any last little reminder that you want to share?
You don't have to be perfect. Sometimes parents are like, how do I remember to do all of this? Okay. Nobody does it all the time. I didn't. My kids are grown now, but so it's easy for me to say, oh, I know what to do, right? You don't have to be perfect. If you can do this, Gnat, who is the originator of this whole approach, he used to say, you can aim for 70%. Sometimes 50% is all you can manage, and even 10% can make a difference in a relationship. So, we have to be as kind and forgiving to us as we are to our kids.
Yes. Oh, that's wonderful. Such good advice. All right. Thank you, guys. I can see there's lots of beautiful comments on the live. People have just loved this session and hearing from you. So another big thank you. And we wish you all well. And we'll see everyone else soon for the next discussion. Take care.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone. Goodbye.